On the broadcast tonight, more evidence today in that human trafficking trial.
Also ahead, could there be a threat to the #1 industry as port officers turn up the heat?
Coming up in the Bahamas Tonight, a local plant expert shares her views on the uses of marijuana and why the Bahamas should seriously consider it.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keish Latterly.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us.
Topping the news tonight, issues including illegal migration, repatriation, the legalization of marijuana, and the situation in the Turks and Caicos Islands were all touched on during the two-day talks among regional leaders. But of major importance to the Bahamas was the issue of illegal migration, and it appears that we'll be following up on another meeting after those discussions end.
Julian Reed has a wrap on talks from the 25th CARICOM International Heads of Government Conference in St. Vincent that's now history.
It's a multilateral forum, but often bilateral issues come to the fore when CARICOM leaders meet. That's what happened Tuesday when Prime Minister Perry Christie intervened on the issue of illegal Haitian migrants. It resulted in another high-level meeting now set to take place next Thursday in Port-au-Prince.
I expected to discuss issues of what the Haitian government could do to help the Bahamas government and their own nationals in not coming to the Bahamas and causing us a great kind of economic burden and human one, really, when it comes down to the suffering and the risk that people take in getting to the Bahamas.
The Prime Minister again stressed to CARICOM leaders the severe economic impact illegal Haitian migrants have on the Bahamas. But he also reassured them that every effort is made to protect their human rights. Mr. Christie also intervened during the discussion on trade between CARICOM and Canada, which needs strengthening.
We argued very strongly that rather than just allow our technical people to talk to the technical people of Canada, there should be a major political intervention at this stage where we advise the Canadian government of our concerns.
The Bahamas trades crawfish and salt with Canada, among other things. Meantime, the Bahamas has voiced its decision to join 13 other CARICOM countries in the move to seek reparations from Europe for slavery. The announcement of a special committee to address that issue will be made next week. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell.
That committee is really going to be involved in public education and advising the government on what the position is with regard to this. So it's a studying issue and it's a public education issue in the first instance. What follows from that requires individual decisions by the government.
On the issue of medical marijuana, Minister Mitchell said the government will keep a watching brief and decide later. Regarding the situation in the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Bahamas continues to push for full democracy for that island chain that borders the Bahamas. Progress has been made here in St. Vincent at the 25th Intersessional CARICOM Heads of Government Conference, but there's a lot more work to do to advance the region and to bring us closer, all while holding on to our individual sovereignties. In St. Vincent, I'm Julian Reed for ZNS Network News.
Video-linked testimony was given today from Grand Bahama in the first ever human trafficking case to take place in the country. Jurors heard from a police officer and a man who says he advised one of the alleged victims to go to the police for help after hearing her story. Vern Carey fills us in.
A male witness whose name and identity we cannot reveal because of the sensitive nature of the case testified by video link this Wednesday that he met one of the alleged victims at a bar in Freeport that is known for prostitution. After talking with her, he testified that the woman went with him to his home where they had sexual intercourse, and he gave her $150. Shortly afterwards, he said the woman appeared reluctant to return to the bar, so he allowed her to stay at his home, and she did for 3 days. During that time, the witness said the woman told him her story, prompting him to let her use his cell phone to call her mother, and he also advised her to go to the police for help, which she did. The court also heard from a police detective who testified that while on duty on the evening of January 27th of last year, a woman who spoke with a Jamaican accent came into Central Station and reported that her passport had been taken from her. As a result, he said he called immigration and an officer came to the station and interviewed the woman. Shortly afterwards, the constable said the Jamaican woman took him and the immigration officer to an apartment complex where she lived. However, he said when they got there, he and the immigration officer had to jump over the wall to get to the apartment because the gate was locked. After knocking on the door for some time, the officer said the accused, Shavani Sashage Hall, came to the door. He said she had the key to the gate and they asked her to open it. The officer testified that another woman was also in the apartment, but the accused did all the talking. He said Sasha Gay Hall admitted that she knew the woman who had gone into the police station to report that her passport had been taken. However, the officer said the defendant indicated that the woman had left about a week ago with all her belongings. The officer said they asked the accused and the woman in the apartment to produce their passports, prompting the woman in the apartment to inform him that the defendant had both passports. The officer said he escorted the accused to her bedroom to get the passports, and in her bedroom, he saw a lot of skimpy clothing and bathing suits.
Now, more prosecution witnesses are expected to testify, and some of them will be giving evidence by video link from Freeport, Grand Bahama. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
A judge has ordered Adrian Evans to pay monetary compensation to a father of 5 he attempted to kill 2 years ago by stabbing him multiple times about the body during a fight over a pool match. Evans, who pleaded guilty to attempted murder, was sentenced to 7 years in prison following a plea deal. During the proceedings, the victims took the stand, telling Evans that he forgave him. Evans also apologized through his attorney Ty Pinder. The victim then shook hands with Evans as he left the courtroom. Meantime, Justice Bernard Turner ordered Evans to pay compensation to the victim, and Evans has 3 years to do so. Sandra D. Gardner appeared on behalf of the Crown. Testimony continued today in the Andre Berbal unlawful sex trial. One of the alleged victims took the stand in an emotional testimony as he recalled the alleged abuse. The former 8 Mile Rock teacher is accused of having unlawful sex with 2 of his male students some 10 years ago on Freeport, Grand Bahama. Justice Roy Jones is presiding over the case. Ramona Farquharson Seymour is defending Berbal. Darrell Taylor is appearing on behalf of the Crown. This is the 3rd time Berbal is getting tried for this crime.
Those lawyers who filed a lawsuit against the Attorney General over the removal of stenographers from the Magistrates Court will have their day in court April 19th. Group spokesman attorney Murillo Ducil told ZNS News today that Senior Justice John Isaacs will hear the case. The attorneys held a press conference on the steps of the South Street Magistrates Court complex on Monday, indicating that it's pivotal for stenographers to be in the Magistrates Court in order for accused persons to have fair trials. The Bahamas Bar Association has also spoken out on the issue. Meantime, Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson maintains her position on the issue and has indicated that the placement of stenographers is a matter for the Chief Justice and the Chief Magistrate. The controversial issue of medical marijuana still making headlines, but officials say the country's position remains the same. That is, that marijuana is a dangerous and illicit drug in this country. Tonight, a leading plant expert explores the options and uses for marijuana. Our Janaea Noel Ferguson has the story.
Horticulturist Dr. Salima Campbell-Huber has studied plants and their uses for years. She also owns the Field to Fork Community Farm on Blake Road that grows organic fruits and vegetables. She's confident that the medical use of marijuana has its benefits and believes it can be used as commonly as you use your 5-finger or fever grass tea.
Well, my doctoral research was in the area of medicinal plants. I studied a medicinal plant from North America. So I'm well aware of the potential of certain plant species to provide medicines, and marijuana is one of them. The use of that plant for medicinal purposes is definitely not unprecedented, and I think it would definitely open up a brand new industry in this country.
Although it is an illegal drug, the plant expert maintains marijuana can be used to treat a number of serious medical conditions and quite possibly can mean the difference between life or death.
It's used to treat Alzheimer's patients, cancer patients on chemotherapy to alleviate some of the side effects of chemotherapy. In the news currently, just last night, recently aired on CNN, it's a number of children who are suffering from seizures, like hundreds of seizures daily. A number of those patients find relief from their attacks of seizure.
For those who may be apprehensive about inhaling the drug, Campbell Huber outlined other ways it can be administered.
Stigma of marijuana being used as a recreational drug by smoking definitely it plays in the minds of people when they think of medicinal marijuana, but certainly the plant can be used, the ingredients can be extracted and administered in different forms.
Now, as the debate expands on the use of marijuana for medical purposes, Dr. Campbell Huber says she sees this as a viable option for the country, although there are those in the Christian community who are still against it.
I personally do not support the legalization of marijuana. But if you are a sensible, involved pastor, you would recognize that the legalization of marijuana is beginning to penetrate every segment of the world. The Bible talks about certain things that grows from the earth, the importance of it, and it does has some bearing on some aspect of life. At this present time, I am not totally convinced that legalizing it is the best way to go.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, still to come tonight, the government tuning in on VAT recommendations.
And 100 years of service. The Customs Department is celebrating its centennial. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
Brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.